Welcome back to the channel. Pre-season is pretty much over. We've got 2 more games this weekend, but the tour section is over. And I think the manager has probably made some decisions, but I also think he's still got some decisions. Obviously, he has to integrate Rasmus Højlund into the team, and that's going to be interesting. Matt might need a little bit of patience, might hit the ground running. It is all potentially on the table. But I think there is one area of the pitch he has got a genuine decision to make. And it's interesting because I reckon they've gone like this across the entire time Erik ten Hag has been our manager. And that decision is Dalot versus Wan-Bissaka. 2 options to start in the one position, 2 players with different characteristics. I thought when Erik ten Hag come, it looked a shoo-in that Dalot would be the first choice, but it ended the season with Wan-Bissaka probably being in pole position. They've been 2 players that have both impressed, underwhelmed, stagnated and delivered, I would say, over various times in their careers at Manchester United. Ten Hag has pretty much rotated between the 2 of them since joining. Probably resurrected Wan-Bissaka's career. I thought when Ten Hag joined, Wan-Bissaka was probably done for. Knowing how much of a ball-playing fullback he favours, I thought he would be done for. But we did see Wan-Bissaka start doing one-to-one work last year, and I think the dividends are finally starting to pay off for him for that, because he looks a completely different footballer. Dalot has arguably been unlocked. I think the loan that we saw with him in Italy has done him the world of good. He really developed his understanding of one-to-one defending. And we have got 2 good options. I thought Dalot particularly looked really good. He took his goal fantastically against Dortmund, but he looked good against Dortmund and has looked good when he's featured on pre-season. I think it's going to be difficult for him to identify exactly who starts. So across pre-season, we've probably been faced with equal amounts of both adversity and success, which I think you want. I don't think you want it all your own way. If you win every game 5-0 on pre-season, I don't think you've learned a thing. And if you get spanked every game on pre-season, I also don't think you've learned a thing. I think the ebb and flow of winning and losing gives you things that you can give the players confidence with. And it also allows you to crack the whip a little bit and be like, lads, that's not good enough. This isn't good enough. You want to be challenged. You want to have things where you can point to them and say, can we fix this? If you've got no feedback for them at all, apart from, oh yeah, that was pretty good, that, they're not going to listen to you. You need to be able to give them pointers to improve them. So you've got to face challenges, you've got to make mistakes, and then hopefully you learn from those mistakes. And the key is to not repeat those mistakes. Wan-Bissaka seems to be the one that has found himself ahead of Dalot. He seems to be the one that's starting when it looks like Manchester United's main 11 starts. He has become comfortable in the role that he is being asked of Erik ten Hag. He looks composed in possession. He looks agile. He looks very comfortable in possession. And there's been a huge, tangible improvement that I wasn't even sure was possible for a player that's already played in the top flight to add so much to his game from the starting point that he had. Incredible, freakish 1v1 skill set when it comes to tackling. Missing a lot in terms of defending his box, defending his goal, defending the back stick. And was missing a hell of a lot when it comes to the ability to play out, the ability to not be United's pressing trigger for the opposition, and various things. In possession, he's completely fixed that. I think there's still some question marks about his defensive awareness when it comes to the other aspects. People are going to be like, what do you mean defensive awareness? He's like one of the best tacklers in the world. He is. That's 1 out of like 12 aspects of defending. And he might be the best at that one, but there's other areas to his game that he's got to improve. He looks like he's contributing more on the ball than he ever has. He looks very, very comfortable in possession. He's got a ton of physical attributes which make him a real asset to the team. And observing him at close quarters around the team, he looks like he's coming out of his shell as a man. He looks like he's very confident around the players and the coaches and his teammates and stuff like that. So I think that he's probably got some strides to even go through this season. And if he starts as number 1, I don't think anyone's got a problem with that whatsoever. Since returning from international duty, we've seen Dalot stepping in and out of the team pretty much through substitute appearances until the Dortmund game. He did score that goal against Dortmund, which he took really well, and that's something that Wan-Bissaka's probably not quite got, which is the striking ability that Dalot has got. Dalot strikes a ball fantastically well. He's got the ability to play fantastic crosses. He's got the ability to have a good shot on him as well. So if we start breaking down what their qualities are, with Wan-Bissaka, obviously he improved on multiple fronts over the last year. He is probably the best 1v1 defender in world football. If you've got a winger that likes to dribble and you know he's probably not going to try and play 1-2s around you but actually going to run at you, you put Wan-Bissaka against him. He reads it sensational. His sliding and timing is freakish. He's going to lock that winger down. If you've got a team that's going to maybe try and play make around you, put the ball in behind you, the ball in behind you is not too bad with, but if you're going to play down the opposite flank, crossing it into that back stick, that's where he can find a little bit of a weakness. And the improvement on the ball, from being extremely unorthodox, has helped him start linking up with the players that play ahead of him really, really nice. He's not perfect yet in possession, for sure, but I don't think he's the obvious pressing trigger. We've seen times in pre-season where he's been popping it around. He's been playing off 1 and 2 touch. That's an extremely confident player doing that. Hopefully he can continue that during the league fixtures, and it's not just something that he's done in pre-season because it almost doesn't matter. But he's generally been a lot safer in his passing than Dalot has. Even in the final third, Wan-Bissaka averages 3.51 progressive passes per 90, which puts him in the bottom 40 percentile for fullbacks. Not really what Ten Hag is looking for, I don't think. But I think his improvements have happened more recently than these stats that you get on FB Ref. They're for the last 365 days. So it's encompassing the start of last season into what we've just seen really, really improve over the last week. He carries the ball well. And he often uses it a tool by driving into the space and eating up a little bit of the space that's in front of him. He's actually in the 78th percentile, which is pretty good for progressive carries. And he ends up in the opposition penalty area a lot more than you really think he does. 2.54 times per 90, which puts him in the 87th percentile, which I did not expect, to be honest. He does get caught out from crosses, as I mentioned. He faces his own goal far too much when he's defending. To defend a goal, you can't be looking at it. You have to be looking at the threats. You have to be able to see the ball. You have to be able to see the man. And you can't do that if you're facing your own goal. He's not really able to suitably block or mark his man. It's not reflective in the stats, which show that he's an excellent blocker of the ball. He's in the 81st percentile for that, but that's... marking, it doesn't really get picked up in the stats. Because someone can run off you, and if you don't make a block, don't make an attempt at a challenge, it doesn't get collected. So if you just don't know someone's there and they beat you, it doesn't get collected. But he's in the 81st percentile for blocks made. I think they're probably blocks coming from shots and stuff that are coming down his side rather than things coming from the opposite flank. But there's a lot of room for him to improve. And I think a lot of those stats, if you took the last couple of weeks and extrapolated them over 52, his stats would look very, very, very good, especially at the number of touches he's taken, which seems to have increased, and the quality of touches that he's taken, which I think has definitely increased. In terms of Dalot, a technical ability, Dalot is levels above Aaron Wan-Bissaka, especially on the ball. He is very comfortable dribbling. He has got an excellent link up with those around him. He's got a nice pace to him. He seems to have been really well adjusted to Erik Ten Hag's system, which I don't think was a shock to anyone when he first joined. Erik Ten Hag first joined. He can step into midfield. He can play inverted. He can provide an option as an extra man. He's got the ability to cross the ball. He's got very, very good passing. The crosses are accurate. He's got tidy little low balls that he likes to throw in, but it isn't quite there when it comes to the 1v1 defending, which is where, certainly compared to Wan-Bissaka, he can be beaten. But his ability to intercept is to a very, very high standard. He averages 1.49 interceptions per 90. That puts him in the 87th percentile for fullbacks. He's got respectable international experience, which obviously Wan-Bissaka can't get because, well, it's Gareth Southgate, so he's not going to get it. Risen through the youth setup, he's got 12 senior appearances featured in 3 World Cup games. And when we look at the stats for them both across last season, they both stand out in key areas. And they actually played essentially half of the season each. In the 19 matches for Wan-Bissaka, he got no goals or assists, but he had an XG of 1 and an X assists of 1 as well. Dalot played 26 matches, he got 1 goal and 2 assists. Dalot's passing is a lot better than Wan-Bissaka's, and I think over the last 365 days, that would have been obvious. I'd be really interested to see if that's changed just in the pre-season games, but the data isn't available for that. Dalot averaged 4.44 progressive passes per 90 over the last year, putting him in the 71st percentile. Obviously, Wan-Bissaka is in the low 40th percentile. Surprisingly, their per 90 tackles are actually identical, and they've got 2.34 tackles per 90, putting them both in the 71st percentile. Wan-Bissaka's defensive instincts, though, I think are unmatched, certainly by Dalot at least. And Wan-Bissaka looks significantly better when it comes to things like clearances and blocks. Ten Hag does want loads of clearances, but does Ten Hag want a load of clearances, though? Does that sort of allude to a bit of a lack of control? Would he rather someone make the interception and progress the ball, or would he like it just fucking launched out somewhere? So then you have to look who starts for us. Right now it looks like Wan-Bissaka is the one that is favoured. Ten Hag clearly has a decision to make in his hands, because I think that both of them have got a case to start. And it's weird because if I had to make a guess, pre-season tells me Wan-Bissaka, last season tells me Dalot. So what lines up on the first day for Manchester United is probably anybody's guess. It'd be interesting to see if he kicks off the Premier League with what looks like it's shaping up to be Aaron Wan-Bissaka on pre-season. There will be games for both. I think you definitely see Wan-Bissaka featuring in the bigger games. Certainly where the opposition have a forward or a winger that's going to run, I think you absolutely go for that. In a game where maybe United want a little bit more control, I think Dalot is the more obvious option with that one. And even though Dalot doesn't have terrible defensive ones, I think he is better when it comes to keeping the ball and looking after it a little bit better. And I think it'll be expected that both fullbacks are probably going to rack up a good number of games this season. Injuries, straight tactics, circumstances mean that both of them are going to be very, very important for Erik Ten Hag. And I'm sure one of them would like to be the number one, but there's either a third option. Is there a potential signing? Frimpong was mentioned. Way more attacking than the pair of them. Could Erik Ten Hag juggle 3 right backs? Or is that getting a little bit greedy? I mean, fucking hell. You look at how many centre-halves Pep's got, we'll get another 2 right backs in the mixer. But who knows? Maybe we see one of them leave after this season. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. Who do you think is going to be the first choice? Or do you think they're going to literally rotate through right backs depending on the circumstances of the team that we are playing at the time? Interested to hear your thoughts. Let me have it in the comments. Hey, thank you for watching the video. If you are new around these parts, then don't forget to subscribe. My channel is proudly supported by my community on Patreon. If you'd like to get a little bit of extra content, a Discord group, meetups, 5-a-side games, weekly podcasts, behind the scenes, and even an occasional bit of transfer news as and when I get it, then for the price of a pint, you can show your appreciation for the content that we make and get some goodies for doing so as well. Check the link in the description or click the button right here. You'll also find all of my socials here too if you want to follow me on any of those platforms. Nice one.